Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to two steps to the not to Swami Sarvapriyananda. Alright, so this is, I guess, talking about non-duality. I assume so because the not to is not duality. So I don't know anything about this. Let's go ahead and give it a shot.
A few years back, I did a TED Talk, and I immediately vowed never to do it again.
Why?
The reason is, they had a big clock in front of me, counting down from 18 to 0. And they said, at 0, you have to stop. And I need around 18 minutes to get warmed up.
Yes, with all his videos, my God, they're hours long, but I enjoy them.
And here I am, and there's the clock.
Oh no.
2 steps to the not to, exploring, understanding, and applying Advaita Vedanta, all in 20 minutes.
I'm sorry. I just kind of like how the subtitles is Advaita Vanta. I don't think I said that correctly, but it sounded like it's an Ad Weight of Atlanta. It still helps the parts when I just don't understand.
I was saying, what was I thinking? But we'll give it a fair try. This year is interesting for me because I'm at Harvard for 1 year. And in fact, I flew in from Boston yesterday. And I'm studying a lot of Advaita Vedanta and Indian Tibetan Buddhism of the Madhyamaka, Shunyavada kind. And we have 2 classes on Tuesday. First 3 hours of Tibetan Buddhism, Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti and Tsongkhapa and others, telling us in tremendous detail, extraordinary analysis, that the self does not exist. You do not have a self. And after that, the next class is Professor Clooney's Introduction to the Upanishads. For 3 more hours, you're told that the self is absolute.
You're confusing,
Can you
huh?
imagine the whiplash?
So wait a minute. Do I not exist or do I exist? I am so confused.
Oh, Swami Brahmananda is there.
It's like saying 1 + 1 = 2 and 1 + 1 = 11. What? Well, or... No, I can't think of anything. But anyways.
The Advaita Vedanta, these are the original non-duality guys. 5,000 years ago, the Upanishads is speaking about non-duality. And the amazing thing is, when I study Madhyamaka Buddhism, the Buddhism of emptiness of selves, and then Advaita Vedanta, literally one after the other, where the self is the absolute, both of them are speaking in the same language of non-duality. If you actually translate into English, they're literally saying the same things, using almost the same words, the same examples, the same language, the same philosophical arguments. And yet one says, no self. And the other one says, self is absolute. They are saying the same thing. Though, I mean, I know any number of lamas and Sanskrit pandits who would throw up their arms in horror. Because from the Tibetan Buddhist side, from the emptiness people, they will say, this, what they are saying in Advaita Vedanta, it's wrong. They're saying that the self is a thing. And the Advaita Vedantins, I know what they will say. They'll immediately say, these are nihilists. They're saying nothing exists. But the truth, as the Madhyamakas would have it, lies in between. Both are right and both are wrong.
I like saying that. I'm a middle of the rounds kind of guy.
The way I put it this way, the way to misunderstand Advaita Vedanta is to think that the self is a thing. No, that's not right. And the way to misunderstand emptiness is to think that the self is nothing. That's also not true. So the way I would like to put it is, it's not a thing, it's not nothing, it is no thing. No thing. And this no thing is what we are going to talk about for the next, now I have 16 minutes. Okay. there are two steps to understanding the not two. We will first go into the first step, and then inevitably into the next one, and that will be it. The unique thing about Advaita Vedanta, and again, of course, Madhyamaka Buddhism, is that the spiritual journey here, it's not a journey in space. You're not supposed to go from here to some heaven or some other place, a pure land or heaven or something. No, it's right here. It's not a journey in time that over the years and over the centuries, over lifetimes, you become that or you realize that. No, it's right now. Right here, right now. It's not even a journey from yourself to something else. Brahman, God, Allah, the void. No. It's just you. It is I, me, myself. So it's not a journey in space. It's not a journey in time. It's not a journey from self to the other. It's right here, right now, and you yourself. Then what is it a journey? What kind of a journey is it? It's a journey from not knowing to knowing, from not realizing to realizing, from ignorance to knowledge. Now that being said, if it is right here, if it is right now, and if it is I, it should be possible to experience it, realize it right now, right here, and as myself. And the tremendous claim of Advaita Vedanta, of again, Buddhism, is that it's possible. It's possible. I'm not guaranteeing enlightenment in the next 14 minutes.
I love how he keeps looking at that clock and just making everyone realize how kind of ridiculous it is that I'm on a timer and I have to explain something so complex in such a short time. And that's the reason why I laughed whenever it said the 16 minutes. I thought it was going like, well, I guess I'll have to explain this in 16 minutes, 15 minutes and 59 seconds, 15 minutes, 50. I guess I better get started, kind of deal.
It's relentless. But what I'm saying is, it's this much is the minimum we can hope for. A certain kind of clarity about what all this is about. This timeless wisdom. Aldous Huxley called it the perennial philosophy. 5,000 years ago, our ancestors got it right. So how does it go? Just pay attention to what I'm saying and pay attention to our own experience, and we'll begin to see what they're talking about. There are different ways of realizing this. These are, in Sanskrit, they are called Viveka. Viveka means a kind of analytical seeing. So I'm going to do 3 of these analytical seeings, if I have time, or at least 2 of them, 2 of these Vivekas, let's say. The first one is pretty simple. The distinction between the eternal and the non-eternal, nitya, anitya, eternal and non-eternal. It just means, notice how things change. Our bodies have changed. What you were as a baby, as a toddler, as an adolescent, middle-aged person, now this senior person, an aged person, the body has changed dramatically. And yet, I have this instinctive, atavistic feeling, I was that baby. I was in that body. I was in the child's body. When a senior nun once told me that she was walking past a shop front window in Santa Barbara, and she looked at the window and she said, "Who's that old lady?" So time goes by so fast. She says, it was just 40 years ago that I was this young girl coming into the convent to become a nun. And it's 40 years. The body has changed dramatically.
Sorry, I accidentally hit it a little too soon, but I kind of wanted to go over that a little bit. Not go over it, but I remember something about what I remember sometime in the past about how when you're younger, days seem to last forever. And how when you get older, days seem to be just flying by. And one reasoning that I've heard, and it seems to make sense, is that the reason why when we were younger it seems to last longer is because we're experiencing new experience, like things we've never experienced before, so it seems to last longer. But when you're older, you've experienced a lot of things in your life. So the things that you've already experienced are not new. So in a sense, it feels like it's short because the things that you experience that are new are very rare because the longer that you live, generally speaking, the more things you experience. And the things that you experience are not new, so therefore mundane in a sense. And the things that are new that you experience tend to affect you a little bit more, so therefore kind of like lasting a little bit longer than it normally does. But also when you're having fun, time flies.
I have the absolute sure feeling that I was, this I am. I have not changed. Everything changes and passes away, and yet you are the knower of the change. Nagasena, the famous Buddhist monk who goes to this king, and the king complains to the monk that he has so many problems, the enemies are threatening, there's a famine in the kingdom, and the ministers are incompetent, and the prince is dissolute and not capable of taking over the kingdom. And the monk says, "O king, this too shall pass." And years later, many years later, the monk, now an old monk, he's passing through the kingdom, and he meets the king, who's also very old by that time. And how are you? How's the kingdom? And the king says, "Oh, things are much better by your grace, by your blessings. Enemies have become friends, and the ministers are competent, and there is a plenty of food in the kingdom. And the prince has shaped up quite well. I'm thinking he's going to be a good king."
Well, going through hard times and looking back at those hard times, and if you're not in those hard times, it's going to be so much better. Especially when you had no food and then you have like a slice of bread. Man, a slice of bread is so much better than having no food. And then also, the friends with the enemies thing, I mean, maybe, I guess. But like, I'm assuming he learned his lessons with incompetent, I guess whatever, second commands or whatever, where he fired them and maybe got new people, or maybe the experience of the hard times has they've grown through the hard times, so they've been better. How do I make that make sense of it? Hard times, generally speaking, in my opinion, develops character for a person. The more hard times someone goes through, generally the better they are equipped at handling hard times. And they learn a lot. Generally speaking, again, when you go through hard times, you generally learn a lot. Generally speaking, there are people who go through hard times and still don't learn the lessons. But generally speaking, the more tough times you go through, the wiser you become, the more experienced you become, the more hardened you become, the more that you can take. Whereas one day you said, "Oh, my latte wasn't made properly," and you start whining and complaining, and then when a person that has gone through hard times, like, "Oh, well, it's fine, I'll drink it. So a drink is a drink, it's not bad, I'll take it."
And the monk said, "O king, this too shall pass."
Oh.
It passes. And yet, you who are the knower of that passing, the changing world, people come and go out of our lives. They change and they grow old and they die and they go away. Changing body, changing mind. Our minds change continuously. From the morning till now, how many times? Excited, bored, irritated, happy, expectant. So many changes from the morning till this afternoon in one course of one day. How much the mind changes. And yet that bored person, I was. This excited person, I hope, I am. So all of these changes, I am the unchanging experiencer of this changing world, body, mind. Now this is one way of looking at it. Just stay with this feeling. The sense of an unchanging experiencer, of a changing world and a body and a mind. This is one Viveka. The second one is what is called Drigdrishya Viveka, the seer and the seen. It's one of my favorites. It's pretty powerful. What it says is, that which experiences cannot be the one which is experienced.
So that question he did some time ago, and I thought about it a little bit, and I keep bringing it up. I haven't really done research, but I just kept pondering about it every so often. And I can't really come up with an answer for that. and what I mean by an answer is how to, I don't know. I'm looking for an answer for that. I do believe it to be, do I believe it to be true? It's very difficult because again, the one, I should have done this research a little bit, but again, I guess my belief so far is still the duality. So I am who I am the mind, I am the thinking portion is I believe it's the frontal cortex of your brain, or frontal lobe of your brain. And then you have your different sections of your brain that does different things. And I think I can't remember exactly. I think, again, I should have done research. I need to look it up and watch a video on where your thoughts come from. And basically, it makes sense in both parts that, you know, who you are is just sitting there in a blank voidness. And then I think Rupert was saying like how when your thoughts come, this is you, this is the voidness, and the only time the void's ever illuminated is when a thought comes in there, and then your Turiya shines and sees the thought and then answers thought and it leaves. Same thing happens every day, something just passing by the Turiya. It illuminates it, you see it, and you think about it, and you say, I like this, I don't like that, I need to do this, I need to go there. So I think that's part of your brain, though. That's my argument for it. But again, I have no way of justifying it necessarily yet. So both kind of, in my mind, could be legit. I guess I am just a bit of a materialistic in terms of belief. That's why so far I'm a dualist, maybe a materialist as well, as in everything has a physical form. I believe that is how it's used in that. I haven't really studied up in it, but material means, you know, actually have substance, atoms or whatever, no matter how small or large it is. Let's continue on.
Just as the eyes see this glass of water, so the eyes and the glass must be different. If something is not different from our eyes, the eyes cannot see that. Do we see that? This has to be at a distance from the eyes, some different entity, then only the eyes can see it. In the same way, our bodies, if you think of the body, I am the experiencer of the body. Clearly, I can see it, touch it. If it's a very hot and sweaty day, you can even smell it. So the body is experienced. The body is an object for all of my senses. All 5 of my senses can objectify this body. That which is an object, the experienced object, and I, the experiencer, I cannot be the same thing. I am not the body because I experience the body as a thing. A doctor from Edinburgh just recently wrote to me. He's been a doctor for 2 decades now, and he wrote to me saying that I had an epiphany just a few days ago when I was looking at the charts of some patient's body, the scans, and he thought, I have been seeing this all my life for the last 20, 30 years, and suddenly I had this epiphany. Nowhere in this physical system, this musculature, this digestive system, these bones, these nerves, nowhere I am. None of this is me. It's a thing. You might say, that's simple. Duh, what's there to it? But when you have that powerful epiphany, this powerful clinging to the body, that I am this thing, it suddenly falls away. It can be scary. It can be harrowing. I am not this. It's a thing. It's an object. I am not the body. Why? Because I see it. Even more powerfully and even more scary, I am not the mind. I am not the mind. Why? Because I see it. My thoughts, feelings, perceptions, ideas, memories, even my personal story, my narrative, am I not aware of it? You say, yes, so? If I am aware of it, it's an object. It's a thing, as much of a thing as this. Our memories, our precious ideas, our philosophies, they're also things, subtle things, not physical things like this, but subtle things. But no matter, they are objects. And being objects, I am the experiencer of the object. I am not an object. I cannot, just as I am not the glass because I see the glass, I am not my mind because I see my mind. See, of course, in the sense of introspection. The mind is also an object. Drik drishya. Drik means the seer, drishya means that which is seen. The seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. Now notice one thing. The unchanging experiencer and the changing world, body and mind, and the seer and the seen body and mind, this unchanging experiencer and the seer, they're the same thing. When we look inside, we're talking about the same thing. I have time to do one more Viveka. It's like a full year's course packed into 20 minutes.
Well, 5 probably, right?
This one is subtle, but really fun. Conscious, not conscious. It's almost like seer and seen, but it's different. If I ask you, look at this glass. You're aware of this glass. You're seeing it. On which side is consciousness? You on your side or here? You'll say, yeah, I am conscious of the glass. I don't know if the glass is conscious of me. I don't know, but I am conscious of it. So in my experience of the glass, consciousness is here, not there. Okay. One step closer. Look at your own hand. If you do that, now ask yourself the question, where is consciousness? Am I conscious of the hand, or is the hand conscious of me? Is the hand saying, hello there, we haven't done this in a long time? No, it never does that. That would be creepy. I am conscious of the hand, absolutely. So, I'm conscious of this hand, and this parts of the body, these parts of the body. Every part of the body is something that I am conscious of. The body is not conscious of me, the conscious entity. Consciousness is always on your side, never on the side of the experienced entity. I am conscious, and that is not conscious. In Sanskrit, this is called chit jada. Sentient, insentient. The analysis between sentient and insentient. If you stay like that, here's the most startling thing. Even the mind is not conscious. That is something very stunning in a Western context.
Mm-hmm.
I get this all the time in the university there, because the mind and consciousness are usually taken together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very simple experiment. Think a thought right now.
I was going to make a remark, but I wanted to wait until he said something, and I still want to make the same remark. It still hasn't, whatever he said hasn't still changed my mind yet.
I know. When you try to think, no thought comes. The mind is is mischievous in that way. When you want to stop thinking, it will not stop thinking. When you, mind, give me a thought, no thought. 2 plus 2 is 4. Just think, 2 plus 2 is 4. Hold that thought in your mind. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now ask yourself the question, is 2 plus 2 4 aware of me, or am I aware of 2 plus 2 4? So obviously I'm aware of 2 plus 2 4. 2 plus 2 4 is just like mental talk. I'm aware of it. Are you with me? Okay. I'm aware of it. 2 plus 2 4 is not aware of me. Clearly it's a movement in the mind, a vritti, which I am aware of. That is not aware of me. I am conscious, even the mind is not conscious. The mind appears to be conscious by my light, by the light of the self. But even the mind is not conscious. You are the consciousness apart from the body, mind, because you are unchanging, 1. Because you are the seer, 2. Because you are awareness, 3. The world, body, and mind are changing, the seen and not aware. Because of this, you are this consciousness.
Okay. So, actually, I was looking for an example too. So, this is... so, imagine if this is your mind. It looks like one whole piece. Well, it looks like one whole piece. But what if we are unaware of that one piece right there? What if that is the consciousness? Because we think that the consciousness is the whole mind, but in reality, it is this. But because we cannot experience that one piece in our entirety of our mind, we think it might be something separate. But in reality, it is that one piece. That one piece right there. So basically, and that goes back to what it says, we cannot be what we experience. We can maybe experience all of the mind except for that one right there, that one. If we cannot experience that piece there, then we would be that. But again, I don't necessarily have a way of proving that. I mean, obviously, scientists can't go in there and start chopping up people's brains. Like, okay, are you still here? No, yeah, oh yeah, okay. Well, let's chop up another piece. And so that's something that would be very difficult for scientists to explore because, well, one, the person has to be alive, and two, I mean, it's inhumane to do that to someone. Now, I will say this. The one thing I wanted to discuss on another video, but I'll go ahead and say it here now. So, for example, let's say this is your head now. I'm changing it up. This is your head, and this is your brain right here. What if we were to remove that and say we were to remove your brain and we grab another head and put your brain in that head? Now, this is a different body, different head. Will you be in this body or will you be in your old body? If you're in this body, then the turiya follows the brain. So therefore, I would believe it to be in the brain. But if you're in the other body and the mind is there, then I guess they would have an answer to this. I just kind of answered it, maybe. But anyway, if you're in this body, I think I answered it anyway. So anyway, if you're in this body, then your true self would be on this body, and you would understand the mind, and then the other person would be on this body with your mind. But because of I answered this kinda, I hate the fact that I did it, but it's the fact that if you believe in the non-duality, that the turiya, which is Brahman, we'll call it turiya, in the whole consciousness, and we're all, I'm sorry, I'm trying to formulate this as I am speaking right now, so I'm trying to think of something kind of complicated. So I imagine the Brahman or turiya as this big bubble. And inside this little bubble is everything, all of existence. We'll just talk about consciousness for now, though. These little tiny bubbles are little tiny consciousness of this gigantic bubble. And no matter where the brain goes, no matter what parts of your body goes wherever, you are still part of this big consciousness, this one consciousness that you can swap all the brains in the world. These consciousness will still be there. They're not you. They're you, but they're. That's a very because your true self is the big bubble, the turiya, the Brahman. If I'm saying that correctly, I'm sorry. You're the big bubble. You're the turiya. I do remember that very well. All those little bubbles are just parts of the big bubble. So no matter where you put the brain, all these parts of the bubble still follows that brain, regardless, because they're still part of the big bubble. I'm thinking that's the answer. I answered my own freaking question. But I still want to ask that, though, to see if even my answer is correct. Because no matter where your brain is at, this turiya is always going to be there. But the evidence would still support both in a sense, kinda. But it's very difficult to prove the turiya to be true. But when the brains swap and the people survive, we have to find out. Well, in the material realm, the duality world, if I took my brain and put it in someone else, my experiences, my everything would be in the brain, which would be in that different body. So I would remember everything of who I was with an older body. Now I look down, I'm like, holy crap, but what happened to me? This is not me. What happened to my body? This would indicate that you are your mind. Because it is a very evident proof that your experiences all followed you through your mind. But the turiya is something that's very difficult for me, very difficult to prove, in my opinion, even though you say you can experience the void, but an equivalent for me would be, God, I'm talking too much, would be just having no thoughts in your mind. That one section of your mind which just answers your thoughts. If there's no thoughts, that is an empty. That's empty. Nothing there. The only time that part of the brain is active is when you're thinking about something. When you say I, that activates. And when you say I think, that activates. When you say I feel, that activates. When you don't say that, nothing. That's my explanation. But still, I don't know. What do you think? I talk way too much. Let's continue on.
Okay, 3 minutes. We have done the first step in 2 steps to the not to. Whatever I've said till now.
Sorry, I want to ask him that question. I want to bring up as, hey, what about this explanation? The thing I like about him is the fact that he doesn't say, oh, you have to believe this. It's like, well, there's this belief and that belief, and I believe in this, but, these two kind of are both kind of valid. You have to ask yourself that question. And he did that, I think, twice, if I remember correctly. Anyways, I can't remember right now because I think too much.
One on you. Don't take it seriously. It is not true. My Advaita teacher used to say that those who keep talking about seer and seen, they are, in Hindi he would say, Kache Vedanti, they're unright Vedantins. The second step is very important. Now Vedanta asks you, what is the relationship between you, the unchanging awareness, the seer, and the changing world, body, mind, the other? Are they really 2 separate things? Or are they actually one?
Oh, here we go.
How do you decide? Here is one way. There are different ways. We can talk about it. One way is 2 things are separate if you can experience them separately. So my cloth and this glass are separate because you can see the glass separately and my cloth separately. They don't go together. But the world and consciousness, the body and consciousness, the mind and consciousness, has anybody ever experienced a world apart from consciousness? Have any of us ever experienced ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, apart from awareness? Never.
I completely I completely forgot about his one teachings about, I call it the void, but he calls it sleep nothingness, I believe. Wait. Because the sleep nothingness, the 3 states, is waker, dreamer, and then basically where you don't experience anything at all. I can't remember if he says you're conscious in that state or not. That was so long ago, I can't remember it. I remember the first 2 quite well, but the third one, just because there was nothing there. Now it's quite valid, or for me it's a very important thing to remember what he said at that point. Because he's talking about, if you're not conscious, can you ever experience the world when you're not conscious? Consciousness, have you had any of us ever experienced ourselves in our bodies?
Our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, apart from awareness? Never. The world is not, the body, mind, and world are not experienceable, are not facts apart from consciousness. When I say it like that, it sounds crazy. But this is what Advaita Vedanta is claiming.
Sorry, I thought of a kind of, again, I can't remember what he said there, but when you have no dreams and you're sleeping, I think he said awareness without consciousness. That has to be it. Only reason why I think that is because you may not be conscious, but you're still aware. The reason why you're aware is because if someone pinches you while you're not dreaming, you will wake up. You'll feel that pain if he pinches hard enough. Or if, depending on how light or heavy of a sleeper you are. There's some people out there you can slap them in the face and it still won't wake up. And there's some people out there where you just like tippy-toe in the room and they just wake up. I think I just answered my question again. Oh, jeez.
This inner awareness, this light, is the reality which appears as its own object. You, that one unchanging consciousness, you alone appear as this changing world. You appear, the self appears as its other. This world which we experience is nothing apart from us. The other is nothing apart from you, the self. This world is your own. There is nobody here who is a stranger. Just like in a dream, every person, object, animal that you see in the dream is nothing apart from you, the dreamer. You're appearing in all those ways. Consciousness is appearing as its own object, and this is the festival of consciousness, which we call our life, our universe. Yeah. This oneness is what non-duality is all about.
Sorry. When he talked about that dream, it made me think about some of the dreams that I had. The thing about the dream is the fact that even though the dream is all in my mind, I am only aware of myself, generally speaking, and everyone else acts in according of how I know them sometimes. And that's kind of weird because I don't know what they're thinking in my dream, but I know what I'm thinking. I'm aware of my actions. But do I have control? I don't think I have necessarily very much control over myself in my dream. I am just like a passenger in some sense. And what kind of backs this up a little bit is the fact that there are things out there, and I've listened to some YouTube videos where you can control your dream. There's these, I think, pads that they put over your eyes that when you're in REM sleep and you're having a dream, they'll kind of light up a little bit to help you wake up in the dream, but not wake up in the waker world, so that you can be aware that you're in a dream and control your dream, supposedly. I don't know if that's true or not. But there's been a few times where I was aware I was in a dream, and then I woke up. I don't know how many times that happened, maybe 2 to 4 times that has happened where I became aware that I'm in a dream and then I woke up.
World, the self, the changing world, body, mind, the experienced world, body, mind, the non-aware world, body, mind is not a second thing apart from you, the unchanging seer awareness. Second step, not two. Thank you.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so the non-duality, I can completely understand. It does, understanding from where I'm coming from, it does make sense. But my only problem is the proof of the Turiya. So while it does make sense, it's hard to prove the Turiya for me. Even if I were to assume to be true, or let me say this, assume to be true, I do understand it, because again, the Turiya itself, this big bubble, all of us are just tiny consciousness in here, that we grasped a little bit of the Turiya, a little bit of it, but we're all really just this one big bubble. Just somehow we kind of isolated ourselves, not realizing that we're part of the big bubble. And when we're unconscious, sleeping or whatever, we're still part of this big bubble. This big bubble as being one thing. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time explaining this. This big bubble is one big thing, but we think we're individuals in this big bubble. So no matter what, we're all part of this bubble, we're all the same, we're all one. When we die, we just go back into the bubble, the bigger bubble. And because we are this one bubble, this individuals in this bubble is still all of us. Although I kind of want to maybe make an argument, in a sense, against us. I meant against this, but also I guess against us, if this is true. That even though we're all part of this bubbles, we can still be individuals based on our experiences. It's kind of like we're children of the bubble, the Turiya. Individual children of the Turiya, and this is our opportunity to live our lives. And then once we're dead, we go right back into the bubble. This is our moment in time of this bubble, where we are in fact an individual of the bubble, but still part of the bubble. And in this moment of time of who you are as an individual, as a unique of an experience that you've have an opportunity to make changes. Is there any schools that says it that way? That while you may be part of the big bubble, but you are still an individual? I don't know. Just a thought. Let me know about everything that I said. If you want to. I need to go ahead and pause it because it's been, well, actually stop because it's been 40 minutes now. Alright, well, that's my reaction to 2 steps to the not to. Swami Sarvapriyananda. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.